Well, good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for coming. My name is Jim McCarthy, and it's my privilege to serve as the Chief Executive Officer of Community Health Connection. On behalf of all of our 125 employees, I would like to welcome everyone to the Ellen Ochoa Clinic. So many people made this possible, but I'd like to recognize, of course, Mayor G.T. Bynum, who's here today. Councilor Dodson, who was a champion from the very beginning and said, we need this and we have a good place to put it, right? Dr. Kirt Hartzler, who's been a tremendous partner. It is amazing to work with an organization such as Union Public Schools, and it's a delight. I'd like to also recognize our board chair, Dave Shirley, and we have Representative Ford and Provenzano here today, and then also I see Senator Hayes is here. Thank you so much for coming. And if I've missed someone, I apologize. It's with these masks, it's hard for me to tell who one person is from another, but I do want to thank you for wearing them. Community Health Connection is committed to providing the highest quality, affordable, and accessible medical, dental, behavioral health, and pharmacy services to the people of Northeast Oklahoma, primarily in Tulsa, but we have patients that come far and wide to receive our services. We are an integral part of this community, and there is no better way to be even tighter into the community than to partner up with public education. And that's why it makes so much sense and is such a far-reaching vision to develop a community school village the way Dr. Hartzler had anticipated. And we thank you for your vision. Thanks to his leadership and the City Council, and as I mentioned, Councilor Dodson, who was our champion, the people of Tulsa agreed that this was a good project, and it became one of the Vision Tulsa projects and was approved by a vote. And after several years of dreaming and scheming and constructing and outfitting, here we are today. We have now a brand new 25,000 square foot, fully equipped clinic that will serve over 15,000 patients every year, providing them quality and affordable health care that we all need. We opened our doors almost 200 days ago. It's been 197 days, not that I'm counting, but and we're still working out a few bumps, but it has already been well received by the community, and our patients are thrilled. During that time, we've not only provided our regular services, but we've also responded to the pandemic. We have now the drive-up pandemic COVID-19 testing, and we can provide results in about 30 minutes. And unfortunately, we are seeing an increase in positive results. So once again, I would thank you for wearing your masks, and I hope you will be diligent. In addition, we have our free flu vaccinations for the community. This can be a double whammy for us this year because of the pandemic. So I would encourage everyone, if you have not already had your flu vaccine, to please do so. Now, normally at a ribbon cutting, we do this, we cut the ribbon, and then we give everyone a grand tour of the facility, and that would be my pleasure for sure. But unfortunately, we're already bending our pandemic protocols by having everyone in here today. And as a consequence, we're not going to be able to give everyone a tour, but thanks to Union Public Schools' efforts, we have a virtual tour of the entire facility on thumb drives that are on that back table there. And we'd like everyone to pick one up and take a tour at your leisure. You can, if you do it at home, you don't have to wear a mask. You can just do it right in the safety of your home. Before I turn the podium over to Dr. Hartzler, I want to give a shout out to the team that over the past 3 years has turned this facility from an idea into this amazing facility that it actually is. These are the amazing architects, engineers, and designers at KKT Architects, Wallace Engineering, HP Engineering, and our construction manager, Jordan Smith from Flintco, who's here today. And there's a couple things I'd like you to fix while you're here. So, most especially, I want to thank Union Public Schools team, headed up by Charlie Bushyhead, Fred Isaacs, and Lee Snodgrass, who brought just tremendous experience, construction experience to the table, and really made this a smooth project. With that, I'd like to turn it over to the man who had the vision and continues to have the vision, Superintendent of Union Public Schools, Dr. Kirt Hartzler. Together, we can make a difference.
Well, thank you, Jim, and good morning to all of you. It's so wonderful to see you here. And let me first of all make a correction. This really wasn't my vision, certainly solely. This is the work that we have been doing in Union Public Schools for well over a decade, and thanks to my predecessor and Dr. Kathy Burden, she was the one, and along with a courageous board at the time, helped us launch this philosophy called community schools. I was just blessed to have a team, and certainly working with an amazing mayor and an executive officer of the Community Health Connections to take that vision or take that philosophy, we think, to another level. We have created, as Jim mentioned, what we call now a community school village. We think this concept is the first one in the state of Oklahoma, and it is certainly one of the very few throughout the nation. And our plan is to hopefully take this, share it with other communities and other cities, not only across our great state of Oklahoma, but also across the nation, and hopefully it will be replicated many times over. Because this is what we know, that when you bring community members together and cities together and working with schools and different organizations for the benefit of all of us and our community, we know that the harvest that we are going to reap is going to be immeasurable in more ways than we can ever imagine. So with that said, I just want to say thank you. My heart is extremely full today because this almost completes our community school village, as long as Flintco will correct all those little issues that Jim mentioned we need to take care of. But again, thanks to my team, Charlie, Fred, Lee, you all are amazing, and I'd like to also recognize my amazing board that's here as well. They're the ones who, when we bring these crazy ideas to us, they let us dream, and they just say go, and that's what we've been able to do. But certainly we haven't been able to do that without the board and the oversight from our board. And I'd like to say one other thing in closing before I introduce Councilor Dodson, and that is thank you, Mayor. Thank you to you and your team for believing in us, launching this crazy idea, which some people would say, how in the world were you able to ever bring a large city together with a school system and with a health agency and come up with such an amazing kind of idea and then ultimately make this come to fruition? Well, what I can say is we did it. And great things happen when we come together, despite sometimes our differences and maybe ideas or ideologies or whatever, because truly there's differences we had to work through, differences in design. We wanted this building to complement certainly Ochoa Elementary and all the amazing things that's happening in that elementary school, but we did it. And so for that, I'm grateful and thank you. And with that said, at this time, I'd like to introduce Councilor Connie Dodson. Thank you all.
Good morning. It certainly has been a process. I remember that when Jim and I first started working on this project as part of Vision, it was unique, it was original, it was an opportunity to provide yet another service to this community, and it was always meant to be kind of a community hub. It's evidenced by its original location. It was meant to be originally behind Martin Regional, in between it and Disney, and to be that center of health in a hub of health education and community assistance there with the library as well. But it got passed. Union came to us and says, you know, we are working on a health clinic in our facility and would really love to work with you rather than duplicate services. GT and his staff worked out details from there, and it ended up being a great partnership, I believe, with Union Public Schools to provide an even better location with better access and serve a larger community at whole because of that. I've been so fortunate to be able to work on this and appreciate all the help throughout the community that helped make it happen. So, and I'm assuming you're next.
The last one standing. Up there. Yeah. I'm really grateful for the leadership that led to this facility being established. And he's so humble, but the person who deserves lion's share of the credit for this is Jim McCarthy. Jim brought this idea forward when we started the Vision Tulsa process, and he was there for every meeting. The quintessential squeaky wheel. And the reality is that was a 3-year process, a lengthy process for our community to try and determine over the next several years what are the greatest investments that we can make that will make this the Tulsa that we want it to be. And if we have those funds available in this period of time, how are we going to spend them? What are our top priorities? And I will tell you, it was a combination of two things. It was Jim's persistence and Councilor Dodson's advocacy that when we were putting this program together, the Vision Tulsa program, the largest economic development capital program in the history of Tulsa, there were really two projects that there was never any question they were going to be in. This one and the low water dam in the Arkansas River that we have under construction right now. Everything else there really was in question up until the final vote of the council. This one was never in question because it's such a no-brainer. We knew as a council putting that program together that this was a facility that could serve the fastest growing population in Tulsa. And we didn't call it this at the time. We call it this now, though, at the city. This is part of the New Tulsans Initiative at the City of Tulsa. We want Tulsa to be the most welcoming city it can be for our immigrant community. And there's no part of the city where there's a more vibrant concentration of our immigrant community than right here in East Tulsa. And this is a facility that can make sure that our immigrant community, when they risk everything to come here to Tulsa because they see this as a beacon of freedom and opportunity amongst anywhere in the world that they could go, they choose Tulsa. We want to live up to that risk that they've taken and that belief that they have and the hope that they have in our city. And now we know, we can tell them they can get a great education in this part of our city. They can get great health care in this part of our city. We are creating, thanks to Councilor Dodson's leadership, great jobs in this part of our city. And so this is part of a very important, one of the most important things that we'll be doing as a city right now is making Tulsa the best city it can be for our immigrant community. So I'm very grateful, first and foremost, to the citizens of Tulsa who believed in this and who understood how important it was and approved it by over a 2-to-1 margin, something you just don't see anymore when it comes to approving capital projects and taxes. I'm very grateful for the city council that we had in 2016 that put this together. Councilors Jack Henderson, Jeannie Q, David Patrick, Blake Ewing, Karen Gilbert, Anna America, of course Councilor Dodson and Phil Lakin. All of us worked together over years to assemble, well, and Councilor Bynum, my personal favorite councilor. Councilor Dodson's number 2. But we worked very hard, and of course my predecessor, Mayor Dewey Bartlett, all of us agreed on the importance of this project. As has been mentioned, the other key thing is it's one thing to know what you want to build, but where you're going to build it so it has the greatest possible impact is also so important. And as Councilor Dodson mentioned, we considered a number of different locations, but when Dr. Hartzler stepped up and offered this location, it was like it was all meant to be. This is the perfect location for this facility to have the greatest potential impact on our community. Dr. Hartzler, I'm so thankful. I also want to thank our team at the city, led by our city engineer, Paul Zachary, and Mary Kell, who oversaw this project to make sure that the citizens' money was well spent and that this was a project done on budget and on time. And the members of our Sales Tax Overview Committee who oversee that, a number of whom are here, thank you. And so this is nearly a $10 million Vision Tulsa project. This is the very first one that we broke ground on. This is one of the first ones that we've completed and that we have underway. And so for today, I just want to say to everyone who's made this possible, thank you. And to everyone that this is going to benefit, every time you walk in here, I hope you see a facility that reflects how much this city is grateful that you are here and that we want this to be the best city it can be for you and your family. I'll turn it back over to Jim.
Well, like I said, typically we cut the ribbon, which is the next thing we're going to do, and then we take a big tour. So just remind, we have the virtual tour thumb drives back there.